It was a crisp morning in Austin, Texas. The city, known for its blend of modern culture and deep-rooted tradition, was abuzz with energy. The streets hummed with traffic, and the local coffee shops overflowed with people preparing for the day ahead. But none of this mattered to the guests of the prestigious Grand Austin Hotel. They were here for a purpose, an event that would shape conversations across the country. Elon Musk, one of the most talked about men in the world, was no stranger to the spotlight. Whether it was his groundbreaking ventures with SpaceX, Tesla, or his Twitter exploits, he was constantly in the news. But today, his visit to Austin was more than just a business trip. It was an appearance that had the press on high alert. He was scheduled to give a keynote speech at a tech summit, and the Grand Austin, with its sleek marble floors and elegant chandeliers, was hosting the event. As Elon made his way into the grand lobby, a crowd of reporters and event staff flanked the entrance, eager to capture every moment. The sunlight filtered through the large windows, casting long shadows on the polished floor. Elon, as usual, looked calm, focused even, as he walked toward the check-in desk. His iconic MAGA hat perched firmly on his head. The red cap, emblazoned with white letters, had become a symbol of much more than just a political affiliation. For some, it represented freedom of speech. For others, it was a sign of division. The receptionist, a young woman named Chloe, glanced up from her computer as Elon approached. Her smile was polite, though there was a noticeable tension in her eyes as she took in his attire. She had seen the hat before on television in the midst of protests and debates. Chloe wasn't sure how to handle it, but she had her instructions. "Good morning, Mr. Musk," Chloe greeted him, her voice steady but cautious. "Welcome to the Grand Austin. How may I assist you today?" Elon flashed his signature grin, reaching into his pocket to pull out his identification and reservation details. "I'm here for the summit. The keynote's this afternoon," he said, his voice smooth and confident. Chloe took the information, her fingers momentarily hovering over the keyboard as she typed. But after a brief pause, her fingers faltered. She hesitated, glancing at the hat again. "I'm sorry, Mr. Musk," she said, her voice softer now. "I'll need to ask you to remove your hat before we can check you in." Elon raised an eyebrow, looking surprised. "Excuse me?" Chloe's discomfort was palpable. She had been trained for these moments, but nothing could have prepared her for this one. "It's part of our dress code policy, Mr. Musk. We strive to maintain a certain image here at the Grand Austin, and unfortunately, we cannot accommodate hats like that in the lobby." There was a beat of silence. Elon didn't react immediately. His expression remained neutral, though the faintest hint of amusement tugged at the corner of his lips. He could feel the tension building in the room. The journalists who had been lingering nearby stopped talking, waiting to see what would happen next. They had expected a story, but not this one. Elon took a step back, sizing up Chloe and the hotel's policies. The moment seemed to stretch on, his calm demeanor contrasting with the growing anxiety in the air. Then, with a slow, deliberate motion, he removed the hat, holding it in his hands. But instead of complying in the way the receptionist expected, he did something completely unexpected. "I'll tell you what," Elon said, his voice calm, almost too calm. "Why don't I just take this little incident to social media? I'm sure the world will love hearing about it." Chloe blinked, unsure if he was serious. She had dealt with high-profile guests before, but nothing like this. The idea of public backlash from a man like Elon Musk was the last thing she had anticipated. But before she could respond, he was already pulling out his phone and typing away, his fingers moving swiftly over the screen. Within minutes, his tweet went live. "Checked in to the Grand Austin Hotel, but apparently my MAGA hat isn't welcome here. This is the world we live in now. Hashtag freedom of speech, hashtag sad." The room fell silent. Chloe stood there, unsure of what to do next, as a handful of reporters began to crowd around her. Cameras clicked as they captured the unfolding moment. Elon didn't wait around for the hotel's response. With a final glance at the reception desk, he turned and made his way to the elevator. As he ascended to his room, he could feel the weight of the situation settling in. This was no longer just about a simple hotel check-in. It was about to become something much larger, something that could change the way people viewed freedom of expression in public spaces. But what would come next? That was the part that no one could predict. The tweet had barely been live for 5 minutes when the floodgates opened. Elon Musk sat in his luxurious suite on the top floor of the Grand Austin Hotel, overlooking the sprawling city below. His phone buzzed incessantly, notifications flooding in from all corners of the world. His followers on Twitter had exploded in response. Thousands of retweets, tens of thousands of comments. The digital world had shifted into full-blown chaos, each person weighing in with their thoughts. On one hand, there were those who defended Elon, praising him for standing up for freedom of speech, applauding his refusal to bow to corporate policy. To them, the hat was just a symbol, one of many political expressions. Yet this one was undeniably tied to a very controversial figure. For these supporters, the act of wearing the MAGA hat was not just political but personal, a message of rebellion against the restrictions they felt were being placed on them by societal norms. On the other hand, there were those who felt outraged. To them, Elon's tweet was another in a long line of insensitive acts from a billionaire with too much power and not enough accountability. His supporters, they argued, represented hate and division. How could Musk not understand the implications of his actions? How could he not see the disrespect such a symbol carried? The conversation quickly shifted from just a hotel incident to something much larger. News outlets began picking up the story, headline after headline running variations of the same theme. Elon Musk refused hotel check-in over MAGA hat. As more people weighed in, the lines between politics and personal freedom blurred. The world watched to see how the hotel would respond. Back at the hotel, the staff was in a frenzy. The public relations team, scrambling to contain the fallout, quickly tried to put out a statement, but they couldn't keep up with the viral momentum. Chloe, the receptionist who had initially confronted Elon, was now the subject of an online storm. Her face was plastered across news sites and social media, her professional reputation called into question. The hotel's management was caught between two fires. On one hand, they had a policy they had enforced without issue for years, designed to maintain a certain atmosphere at the Grand Austin. On the other, they had just alienated one of the most influential figures in the world, and that could cost them millions. They needed to make a decision, and fast. Back in his suite, Elon watched the situation unfold with a bemused smile on his face. He had known that this was coming. When you're a figure like him, someone who constantly makes waves, it's almost impossible not to. But what surprised him was how quickly the situation had escalated. What was supposed to be a minor inconvenience, an interaction that would fade into the background of a busy day, had turned into a full-scale crisis. He tapped out a few more tweets, each one escalating the situation further. Sad to see a hotel with such a prestigious reputation turn away guests based on political expression. I guess freedom of speech isn't for everyone. #sad #injustice. By the time he hit send, the media had picked up on the deeper implications of his words. People weren't just mad at the hotel anymore. They were questioning larger societal issues. Was this about a dress code or something more? Was this a stand for freedom of expression or just another form of societal control masked as civility? A few minutes later, Elon's phone rang. It was his public relations team. "Elon," the voice on the other end said, "We're getting an avalanche of messages. The story is blowing up." The hotel is in damage control mode, but it's clear they don't know how to respond to this. They're trying to figure out what to do next. Elon leaned back in his chair, looking out at the Austin skyline. He had known this moment was coming. He had known the reaction would be explosive. But what he hadn't expected was the depth of the conversation that had been ignited. For once, this wasn't just about him or his companies. It was about something bigger. "Let them sweat it out," Elon replied, a playful grin creeping onto his face. "Let's see where this goes. But I've got an idea. I'll handle it." Before the PR team could protest, he had already hung up. He wasn't going to sit back and wait for the hotel's decision. He wasn't going to let the media dictate the narrative. Elon fired up his laptop, quickly drafting another tweet. This one was more calculated, more direct. "If the Grand Austin Hotel doesn't want to welcome people who wear MAGA hats, maybe I should buy it. I could use a place that actually supports freedom and expression. #change the system." It was a bold move, one that would send shockwaves through the media. The thought of Musk, with his vast fortune, purchasing a well-established hotel chain was outrageous. But in the world of Elon Musk, nothing was too outrageous. Within minutes, the tweet was live. It was another bombshell, another layer to the unfolding drama. The press would surely pick up on this next. After all, the idea of a billionaire buying a hotel just because he was refused entry because of a hat was the kind of headline that practically wrote itself. Meanwhile, the hotel was spiraling. Internal discussions were held behind closed doors. Executives rushed to decide how best to respond. But the damage had already been done. The hours after Elon Musk's tweet were a whirlwind of chaos for the Grand Austin Hotel. What had started as a minor altercation at the check-in desk had quickly evolved into an international controversy. The media coverage was relentless, with new stories breaking every few minutes, each one adding fuel to the fire. While Musk's supporters rallied behind him, some even launching online petitions in his favor, others took to social media to condemn the hotel's actions. The hashtag boycott Grand Austin trended globally. It wasn't just a simple disagreement anymore. It was a battleground for a much larger issue, the balance between corporate policies and individual freedoms. Inside the hotel's corporate offices, executives were in full crisis mode. The public relations team, which had initially hoped to keep the situation under control, found themselves on the defensive. They had never imagined that a refusal to check in a guest over something as seemingly trivial as a hat would explode into such a firestorm. "We need a statement now." The head of PR, Linda Davis, barked into her phone. She paced back and forth in the conference room, the tension palpable. "Get legal involved, but don't make it sound like we're backing down. We can't afford to lose face in front of the public." The hotel's general manager, Richard Simmons, sat at the head of the table, his hands clasped tightly. "We've always had policies about dress codes," he said, his voice trembling. "It's about the image we project to our guests. But this is bigger than that. We've got to figure out how to navigate this. Musk's worth billions. If he's really serious about buying the hotel, we could be looking at losing everything." The idea of a billionaire swooping in to buy their luxury hotel chain was, to say the least, unsettling. The Grand Austin had built its reputation over decades, drawing in celebrities, diplomats, and high-profile business leaders. The last thing they needed was a hostile takeover over something as petty as a political statement. But as the hours ticked by, it became clear that the damage was done. People from all walks of life, regular citizens, celebrities, even politicians, had taken sides. Some called Musk a hero for challenging the status quo, while others accused him of using his platform to push a divisive political agenda. The debate had gone far beyond a simple hotel policy. Meanwhile, Chloe, the receptionist who had originally confronted Musk, found herself caught in the crossfire. Her phone had been blowing up all day, filled with messages from friends, family, and even strangers. Most of them were angry, questioning why she had enforced such a policy on one of the world's most influential figures. Her social media accounts were flooded with comments, some supportive, others harshly critical. She had tried to defend her actions, claiming that she was simply following hotel policy, but it felt like nothing she said mattered. She couldn't help but feel the weight of the situation pressing down on her. The storm that had started with a simple request to remove a hat had escalated into something that was now affecting her career, her personal life, and her sense of identity. The hotel's upper management, desperate to control the narrative, held a meeting later that evening. The pressure was mounting. With each passing minute, it became more evident that they would have to make a decision, fast. "We can't let this escalate any further," Linda said, her voice tense. "We need to find a way to publicly apologize, but we also need to stand our ground. We can't back down entirely, or we'll look weak." Richard looked out the window at the shimmering lights of Austin. He knew that the hotel's reputation was at stake. But what if Musk was right? What if they were putting too much emphasis on maintaining an image at the expense of allowing free expression? "We need to find a balance," he said slowly. "We'll release a statement saying we've taken the feedback seriously. We'll emphasize that our dress code is about creating a sophisticated environment, but we also support everyone's right to express their beliefs. We won't apologize for upholding our policies, but we'll make it clear that we'll review them." The statement was carefully crafted, reviewed by legal experts, and finally posted to the hotel's website and social media accounts. "We regret the misunderstanding that occurred earlier today regarding one of our guests at the Grand Austin Hotel. We value our guests' right to express themselves. However, we also strive to create an atmosphere that reflects the high standards and professional image our patrons expect. We will be reviewing our dress code policy to ensure that it aligns with our commitment to inclusivity and respect for all." But the moment the statement went live, the reactions were mixed. Some saw it as an attempt at damage control, while others felt it was too little, too late. The hotel had tried to strike a middle ground, but the response lacked the kind of apology or acknowledgement that would placate Musk's supporters. Meanwhile, Elon Musk, ever the master of media manipulation, had his own response prepared. "I guess the Grand Austin is finally learning about free speech, but it's too little, too late," he tweeted. "Maybe I should give them a lesson on inclusivity as I change the system." #MAGA. The public backlash intensified, with people calling for a boycott, not just of the Grand Austin, but of the hotel chain as a whole. Celebrities and influencers alike weighed in, using their platforms to either condemn the hotel or rally behind Musk's call for freedom of expression. It became clear to the hotel executives that the situation had spiraled far beyond their control. They had hoped to placate Musk, to smooth things over, but it was too late. The issue had transcended a simple policy dispute. It was now a national conversation about the limits of corporate control, political expression, and the nature of public spaces. And it wasn't over. The next chapter was just beginning. The next morning, the entire world was still buzzing about the situation at the Grand Austin Hotel. Elon Musk's tweet had taken on a life of its own, circulating across social media platforms, news outlets, and even TV channels. The storm that had been sparked by the refusal to check in had now become a full-fledged media firestorm. In the wake of the hotel's lukewarm apology, the situation had reached a boiling point. The online debate raged on, dividing the public between those who believed in the sanctity of corporate policies and those who saw Musk's actions as a direct challenge to the limitations of free speech and personal expression. But what no one saw coming was Musk's next move. Elon sat in his penthouse suite, his phone in hand, scanning through the overwhelming flood of comments. His eyes narrowed, his mind already working, calculating the next step in this unpredictable game. It wasn't just about a hat anymore. It was about freedom, about expression, and about standing up against a system that he felt was limiting people's voices. And then it hit him. He wasn't going to let this go. He wasn't going to stop at a tweet or a statement or even a call for boycotts. Musk had played the game of business and influence for years, but now he was going to take it to a whole new level. Elon opened Twitter again. With a few swift strokes, he sent out another tweet. It was bold, direct, and as usual, calculated to draw attention. "I'm considering buying the Grand Austin Hotel," he wrote. "It's clear that the current owners have no idea what inclusivity and freedom mean. Maybe it's time for a change. Let's create a place where freedom of expression is celebrated. Who's with me?" The tweet exploded. People were floored. The idea of a billionaire, especially one like Musk, taking over a luxury hotel chain just because he had been refused service over a hat was not only audacious but incredibly powerful. Media outlets immediately picked up the story, turning Musk's words into a headline that made waves across the globe. It wasn't just a tweet anymore. It was a declaration. Musk had made it clear that this wasn't going to be a small battle. He wasn't just fighting for his right to wear a hat. He was fighting for the right to control his own narrative and, by extension, influence the world around him. The Grand Austin Hotel, a place that prided itself on luxury and exclusivity, was now the center of a global debate. The management, scrambling to keep control, found themselves in an impossible position. Elon Musk was a force to be reckoned with, and the idea of him purchasing the hotel was no longer just a joke. It was a real possibility. But what did this mean for the hotel chain? The idea of a hostile takeover was absurd on the surface, but in the world of Elon Musk, nothing seemed impossible. The hotel executives had no choice but to respond to the growing storm. "We're exploring all options to address the situation," the hotel's CEO, Amanda Livingston, stated in a public message. "We have taken Elon Musk's comments seriously and will consider his proposal. We believe in freedom of expression and inclusivity, but we must also balance that with the luxury and brand standards our guests expect." Musk wasn't finished yet. In a press conference the following day, he took things even further. Standing in front of a crowd of reporters, cameras flashing all around him, he looked every bit the part of a businessman who had already made up his mind. "I'm offering to purchase the Grand Austin Hotel," Elon said, his voice calm but firm. "And when I do, we will change the culture. No more corporate policies that stifle personal expression. It's time for a new kind of hotel, one that truly respects its guests, no matter their background or political views." The media erupted. Headlines blared with variations of Elon Musk offers to buy hotel amid controversy, and Musk's bold plan to revolutionize the hotel industry. The business world and the political sphere collided in this stunning twist as Musk's influence began to loom large over the situation. For the hotel's management, this was no longer a simple PR crisis. They were facing the possibility of losing control over one of their most iconic properties. The Grand Austin was an institution in Austin, and Musk's acquisition could have ripple effects across the entire luxury hotel industry. But what would this mean for the future of the hotel? Would it become a symbol of freedom, a place where political expression and personal identity were celebrated? Or would it become a target of division, where every guest would have to pick a side? Elon wasn't worried about that. In fact, he saw this as a golden opportunity. He had always been a man of bold moves, but this one felt different. This was about more than just a business acquisition. It was about sending a message that personal freedom, political expression, and corporate policies didn't have to be at odds. That change could come from within. And so, as the media swirled around him, as the public watched with bated breath, Musk stood firm in his resolve. The world was about to witness something extraordinary, something that could shift the way people thought about corporate responsibility, personal expression, and the power of one person to affect real change. But as with everything Musk did, it was going to be a wild ride, and no one knew where it would end. The weeks that followed Elon Musk's announcement to purchase the Grand Austin Hotel were filled with intense media coverage, public opinion battles, and debates on social platforms. What began as a simple interaction at the front desk had transformed into a global spectacle, touching on themes far bigger than just a political hat. Issues of free speech, corporate responsibility, personal freedom, and inclusivity were all brought to the forefront. The hotel's management, shaken by the whirlwind, had begun to feel the full impact of Musk's statements. The Grand Austin, known for its sophisticated atmosphere and elitist reputation, now found itself at the center of a national discussion. It wasn't just a hotel anymore, it was a symbol of either upholding the status quo or embracing change, personal freedom, and expression. But Musk's move to buy the hotel was not without consequences. The media had a field day with the idea of a billionaire purchasing a prestigious hotel chain to reshape its policies. Some saw it as a victory for personal liberty, while others wondered about the implications of allowing someone with such power to impose their will on an institution that had once been about elegance, exclusivity, and luxury. Could this be the dawn of a new era in corporate culture, where freedom of expression reigned supreme? Or was it an attempt to further consolidate power in the hands of the few? Elon Musk's campaign continued to draw mixed reactions. Supporters hailed his stand for individual rights, while critics pointed out the potential dangers of such sweeping changes. If anyone could afford to alter an entire corporate culture with a single tweet, they reasoned, then what stopped other powerful individuals from shaping entire industries according to their own beliefs? In the weeks that followed, Musk made good on his promise. The deal to buy the Grand Austin Hotel was finalized, and the transformation began. The hotel's iconic lobby, with its polished marble floors and grand chandeliers, remained the same on the surface, but a new energy started to pulse through the air. New management, handpicked by Musk, began to implement changes that were designed to shake up the old way of doing things. There were no longer strict dress codes or policies that excluded political expression. Guests were encouraged to wear whatever made them feel comfortable, whether it was a political hat, a t-shirt, or an outfit expressing their personal style. Chloe, the receptionist who had first refused Musk's check-in, was kept on by the new management, albeit in a different role. She was given the opportunity to be part of the team that would help implement the cultural shift, a role she had never imagined herself in. It was awkward at first, but as time passed, she came to realize the power of the change they were making. The guests she interacted with now felt freer to express their beliefs without fear of judgment or exclusion. They felt heard. They felt welcomed. But not everyone was thrilled by these changes. Regular patrons, used to the high standards and exclusivity of the hotel, began to question whether the new direction would tarnish the hotel's reputation. Some stopped booking rooms altogether, citing the hotel's new policies as too liberal for their tastes. Others took to social media, accusing Musk of turning the hotel into a circus. But those who remained loyal appreciated the new freedom, the shift toward personal empowerment, and the sense that they could express themselves authentically. The most surprising development, however, came when Musk himself made a rare appearance at the hotel. He stood in the newly revamped lobby, looking around at the changes he had set in motion. There was a mixture of pride and uncertainty in his eyes as he surveyed the guests coming and going, some dressed in suits, others in casual wear with political slogans proudly displayed. Musk felt the weight of what he had done. He had shaken up an institution, one that had stood for decades as a symbol of high society. And in doing so, he had begun a conversation about the nature of corporate control and individual freedoms. Yet, as he gazed at the faces of those who now felt comfortable in the space, a deep sense of satisfaction washed over him. He had done what he believed was right, even if it had cost him. The world was changing, and whether for better or worse, he had made his mark. In the months that followed, the debate raged on. The Grand Austin Hotel became a microcosm of the larger cultural battle that was unfolding across the nation. Was it a victory for personal expression? Or had Musk's actions created a dangerous precedent? Was the hotel now a place where anyone could feel at home? Or had it lost the charm of the exclusivity that had made it so sought after? In the end, the story of Elon Musk and the Grand Austin Hotel was not just about a disagreement over a MAGA hat. It was about the complex relationship between individual rights and corporate power. It was about how far a company should go in enforcing policies that reflect its brand and image, and whether that image can ever be truly inclusive without becoming diluted. And perhaps most importantly, it was about the price of freedom. Musk's bold stand had changed the hotel forever. But as the world moved forward, the question remained: how much change is too much, and at what cost? The aftermath of the Grand Austin saga became a case study in the limits of corporate authority, personal expression, and the power of a single individual to reshape the world around them. Whether viewed as a success or a cautionary tale, it left an indelible mark on the conversation about freedom in a society increasingly dominated by the power of corporations and the wealthy. Elon Musk had won the battle for the Grand Austin Hotel, but the war for personal freedom and expression had only just begun.